Do me a favor, before we get into this game today, tell me your favorite deduction-based games. There's a lot of ones I like. Let me know ones that you like in the comments right now. Let's talk about my current favorite 1v1 logic deduction game. This is Spies Lies, a Stratego game. In this game, by Outset Media, you and another opponent are going to lay out 4 cards in front of you and try to deduce what the other person has played down within some logic lines. It is fun, fast-paced, and should take less than 30 minutes to play. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Hi, I'm Caravan, Dan from Gaming Caravan, and today we're going to be talking about before you buy Stratego, Spies and Lies. So let's go into the overview of this game, and the theme of this game, you're going to secretly have your soldiers selected in order to infiltrate the opponent's side. You'll have a black pawn in the middle that you want to have on your opponent's side by the end of the game. You can also end the game early by getting that pawn all the way as far as the farthest point possible on your opponent's side of the map, which will end the game before the third round is over. The audience for this game are light 1v1 lovers and lovers of logic deduction competitive games. It's a very niche category, but I do believe they did this very, very well. The price for this game, MSRP wise, is $30 MSRP, which overall I think is a decent value. I wouldn't pay more than $25 for this. Once you start hitting $30, I expect a lot more perfection completed, heavier gameplay than this, but this is a great $20, $25 game if you can find it on sale or used. For the details of this game, let's go into the player count. This game plays 1v1. There's an asterisk on the box, which I've never seen before, that says there's rules involved for 3 or 4 player gaming, but then you get into the team-based game where you're both doing half of a turn, which is very stupid. I hate when games try to be more than what they are. In this game, a great 1v1 game. I wouldn't even try playing it anything above 1v1. The weight of this game is 1.5 out of 5 because this game is very simple, but you do have to require skill in order to win, which is why it's above 1. 1 is really Uno. There's no skill, very little strategy. You just go ahead and play, have some fun. This is 1.5 where you have to have some logic to win, but it's very, very easy to play this game. All you do is you're gonna have 4 cards in your hand. You place them from 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the board because there's stuff on your board that shows you 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you're going to guess what your opponent played for their first card. Then they're gonna guess your card. Then you guess their card. They guess your card. If they guess your card correctly, you don't get to trigger your abilities. But if they guess your card incorrectly, you trigger your ability on the card and you go up a certain amount of value on your track. Once your track maxes out, then you're gonna push that operative, that black pawn operative 1 section further for each round you're on. So round 1, you push it up once. Round 2, you push it up twice. Round 3, you push it up 3 times. I don't like that scaling metric specifically just because I believe it's a little unbalanced and too much of a catch-up mechanic where effectively it creates, no matter what you do the first 2 rounds, as long as you don't lose, that third round, you get 1 guess properly and you have a good round, you're going to win the game, which I think is a little bit unbalanced. I wish it was just like 1, you push up once, then you push up twice, you push up twice, but 1, 2, and 3 is a little bit swingy for my opinion. The length of this game is 20 minutes, 30 minutes if you don't play board games whatsoever, but really it's a good 20-minute filler game. You can even get that down under 10 if you don't think it's hard in between your turns. It's simultaneous action with how you play cards face down the table, and then you just kind of interrogate each other like, oh, is that a 2? No. Is yours a 4? No. Is that a 5? Yes, and so forth. Very simple, I would say that much. The aesthetics of this game, if you look at it, it's classic cartoonist Stratego. Stratego is like a realistic art style from the 90s, maybe even earlier, but this version is just like straight cartoon version of the exact same characters. Literally imagine those characters on a basic cartoon scale from classic Stratego. You have the art style in this game. You can see from the B-roll right here. Setup time for this game is approximately 5 minutes. I'm very hesitant to say anything's less than 5 minutes, but this is around 5 minutes because, you pull out some stuff, you put the pawn here, you give everyone your decks of cards. Truly, you can get down in 2 minutes if you know what you're doing, but solidly 5 minutes. Most likely less than 5 minutes for setup. The teach for this game is around 5 minutes because it really depends on how much the other person understands board games as a whole. If you understand logic deduction games, this game's not going to be complicated to teach whatsoever. But if the other person doesn't play any kind of board games, it might take them 10 minutes. But realistically, this is definitely a 10-minute or less teach and a 5-minute or less if people are paying attention, engaged, and already know, logic deduction board games. The mechanics for this game are bluffing, logic deduction, and hand management. That's very important because the cards in your hand, what you place down could possibly get trashed at the beginning of the next round, so you have to be very careful with what you put face on the table. This game it really does feel like you're, hiding secret operative along the lines. You're trying to secretly assess what your opponent might think you put there versus what you actually want to put there. we have to pay attention to the fact that you have to place the cards face down from lowest to highest number. So 1, then 5, then 7, then 9. You can't put like 1, 7, 6, 9. And additionally, the higher value cards are very, very powerful. However, they're more likely to be guessed because very limited placing on the actual line, which I think is very interesting. So it really does feel like you're really getting to the mind of your opponents, which I like a lot. Going forward, going to talk about what I liked about the game. It's like I said, this game really does feel like a good deduction game. I've only played so many deduction games. One of my favorites, Paint the Roses. It's actually my favorite cooperative game of all time, which you can find more information on in my top 10 cooperative board games list that you can see on this video right here or in the description and the comments of this video right now. But I like deduction-based games. It makes you think. It makes you try to understand what your opponent's trying to communicate, whether intentionally or unintentionally. It's kind of like, I like these mind games. In Arcs, Blighted Reach, I won the overall game because the third act character I got requires you to play these mind games. I'm actually really good at like assessing the psycho states of the other people. It's fun and it's a good little time. I'll say that much right now. What I dislike about this game is very hard to say because the game feels pretty fleshed out. The main thing I'll say I disliked is what I already mentioned. The scaling is very, very, I think, too strong. It's too swingy because by the time you get to the third round, if you haven't ended the game, then it's really just anyone's game based on who gets like one good hint. And I don't like that. If I have the black piece all the way at your gates about to win the game and you get 2 pushes, you should not be able to win the game based off my entire game being correct. But, you know, technically I understand it. You held the line and you really waited out the time. It is what it is, but I think it's a little bit too swingy to say like they deserve the win overall because I won almost every single hand. They just want 2 at the end. But yeah, that is everything. The only comparison I have of this game is it feels like a more board game version of Logic and Lore. Logic and Lore is the only other board game I know that is a deduction game. But the thing is, in Logic and Lore, you're trying to figure out what cards you have placed on your side and trying to have all your cards listed from 1 to 9 through basic questions that the game already has written out for you. In this game, you're really doing your best to try to understand why your opponents intentionally put numbers face down and try to assess what numbers they have in certain slots. So it's really just a reverse version of Logic and Lore. So if you like the sound of this game, go ahead and check out Logic and Lore by Weird Giraffe Games, which I also have done a Before You Buy video on in this video or in on my channel. Going to the final thoughts of this game, we have, would I purchase this game? Honestly, not really. I like this game a lot, but it's not amazing, and I'm not a huge 1v1 fan, so it doesn't really scratch my itch from my library. I have a ton of games. I have a bunch of 1v1 games. I would like it if it was maybe more fleshed out. There's a lot more to do, but for a game as simple as this, I wouldn't buy it, and $30 is a little bit too high. $20, now we're talking maybe. But really, I don't really do too many 1v1s, so it has to be like an amazing 1v1 game for me to be able to buy it. And yeah, going to the would I replay the game? 100%. I like this game. I enjoy this game. I want to bust this out anytime there's like a filler section. I would bring this around a lot more often to play in between big games at board game events while we're waiting for things to happen. It's a good 1v1 game. I want that said right now. Now going into my final thoughts of the video, if you don't know, every single game I do a video on and then some more I have ranked on my overarching board game list, where number 1 is the best game I've ever played and I want to replay immediately, and the last number is the game I want to stay away from the most and the game I think is the most broken. We also have a tier list saying like what quality of game, even though it might not be high up on my ranking list, if it's still in the good tier list, that's how I communicate how quality the game is. So let's go ahead and talk about Logic and Lore. Oh my gosh. So talking about Spies and Lies, where it lists on my final thoughts, my final ranking, it sits at 83 out of 135. Now, most of these games I like on my list. So this game is actually a solid C tier ranking, a little bit on the lower spectrum, but still, it's a C tier game, meaning it's good. I'm willing to replay it, but I'm not necessarily like super itching to keep this on my shelf. It's right underneath Super Pixel Tactics and right above Wormspan. Super Pixel Tactics is another 1v1 game, but that one's a lot more aggressive. It's a combatant game. Even though the rulebook was a little wonky, I'll say the gameplay was actually pretty fun once you got a hand of it, which is why it's a little bit higher. And it has the 32-bit pixel art style that I'm obsessed with, and it's like based on video games technically. So I really did enjoy that slightly more than I enjoyed this. And Wingspan, as much as I think Wingspan's a good game, I think the random resource allocation and generation kind of sucks in that. I like a lot about Wingspan, but truly I don't think it's as great, nearly as close as Wormspan for a lot of different reasons. I'll probably make a video fleshing all that out. later on. But yeah, this sits right between them at number 83, 135 out of 135 in my C tier list. So that's everything. Thank you for watching. I really hope to see you on the channel future. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe and drop a like, maybe hype it up. It's a free thing that you can do on YouTube in order to boost up this video in the algorithm. It really helps this channel. Thank you to everyone who's done that so far. And you know what? Peace out. Have a great day. God bless. And I hope to see you at a table soon.